The moment of reckoning comes in strange ways, doesn't it? I never imagined that a Facebook notification would be the catalyst that finally broke the chains I'd been carrying for 20 years. I stared at the foreclosure sign on my mother's front lawn, its harsh red letters visible even in the fading twilight. From the passenger seat of Daniel's truck, I watched potential buyers wandering through my childhood home, strangers eagerly assessing the bones of the place where I'd given up so much of myself. You sure you want to be here for this? Daniel squeezed my hand, his voice gentle. I couldn't answer. The truth was complex. Part of me wanted to witness this ending. Another part needed to verify that my mother would survive it. And some small, wounded part of me needed to see consequences finally manifest after decades of enabling. My phone buzzed. A text from Maria. Richard just posted another plea for investors from Dubai. Still using stock photos and making promises he can't keep. I showed Daniel the message. Seems my brother has found a new group of people to fleece. But not you, Daniel said firmly. Not anymore. As I was about to respond, a familiar gray sedan pulled up. My mother stepped out, looking smaller than I remembered in her sensible beige coat. Walter emerged from the driver's side, his weathered face solemn as he guided her toward the real estate agent waiting on the porch. I didn't expect to see her actually show up, I murmured. 42 years old, and I'm still surprised when my mother finally faces reality. The bitterness in my voice surprised even me. That's when she spotted me. Our eyes locked across the distance, and for the first time in months, there was no manipulation in her gaze, just clarity and something that looked remarkably like acceptance. And in that moment, watching her small figure silhouetted against the house I'd helped pay for 1,000 times over, I realized this was never about a car, or money, or even boundary setting. This was about reclaiming my life. Flashback 2 months earlier. The Facebook notification illuminated my computer screen, pulling my attention away from the quarterly tax reports I'd been reviewing. It was from Richard's account, a rare occurrence since I'd mostly muted his constant pleas for financial loans that never got repaid. But this wasn't a message. It was a photo album, living my best life in the Maldives. The preview showed my brother, cocktail in hand, lounging on a pristine white beach. My stomach clenched. The timestamp showed he'd been there for 10 days, exactly when my mother had called me crying about his emergency appendectomy and mounting medical bills. The same medical emergency that had prompted me to sell my beloved Mercedes sedan, a car I'd worked 15 years to afford, my one indulgence, my symbol of independence. I clicked through the album with increasing nausea. Infinity pools, sunset yacht cruises, champagne toasts, all time-stamped during his supposed hospitalization. Eleanor? Maria appeared in my doorway, a stack of files in her arms. The Henderson account is ready for her. She stopped. What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. I turned my monitor toward her. Remember how I told you I sold my car to help with Richard's medical bills? She squinted at the screen, then her eyes widened. Oh no. Oh hell no. Oh yes, I laughed, but it came out like a sob. Apparently, appendicitis is best treated with five-star resorts and seafood buffets. My office phone rang. The caller ID showed my mother's number. Answer it, Maria urged. Call her out. I took a deep breath and picked up. Hello, Mother. Eleanor, darling, I've been trying to reach you all morning. My mother's voice had that practiced concern she perfected over decades as a high school teacher. How are you managing without your car? I feel just awful about the whole situation. But how's Richard's recovery going? I cut in, my voice steadied despite the trembling in my hands. Oh, he's doing much better. The doctor said, really? Because his Facebook shows him doing just fine in the Maldives. For the past 10 days. Silence stretched across the line, broken only by the sound of my mother's breathing. Eleanor, sweetie, I can explain. Save it. My voice cracked. I sold my car, Mother. 15 years at this firm to afford that Mercedes. You told me Richard needed emergency surgery, that he couldn't afford the bills, that he might lose his apartment. Well, he was very stressed at work, and you know how he gets when stop. I stood up so abruptly my chair rolled back and hit the wall. Lowering my voice, I continued. I've been taking the bus for 2 hours each way to work. I had to reschedule client meetings. Meanwhile, he's posting photos of champagne bottles because he needed a break. Eleanor, you know how hard he works. I almost laughed at the absurdity. Richard hadn't held a job longer than 8 months in his entire adult life. I'm hanging up now. Don't be dramatic, honey. Family helps family. You've always been the responsible one. That word, responsible, hit me like a physical blow. It was the label that had been placed on me since childhood, the expectation that had shaped my entire existence. Yes, I said quietly. I have been. And you've both used that against me my entire life. I ended the call and blocked her number. When I looked up, Maria was still standing in my doorway, concern etched across her face. My phone lit up with a text from Richard. Mom's crying. Why are you being such a heartless bitch? After everything we've done for you. I showed Maria the message, and she swore under her breath. Want me to kill him? I know people. That made me laugh. A real one this time. No. I have a better idea. I opened Facebook and commented on his latest beach photo. Glad to see my car money is treating you well. Hope the appendicitis cleared up nicely. Within minutes, my phone exploded with notifications. Richard's friends commenting with question marks, my mother calling from different numbers, Richard himself sending increasingly angry texts. You're going to start a family war, Maria warned, but she was grinning. No, I said, gathering my things. I'm going to end one. Can you cover for me? I need to leave early. Where are you going? To the bank. I'm closing our joint account and removing myself as a co-signer on mother's credit card. Then I'm going to look at that condo in the arts district I've had my eye on for years. What about your family? I looked at my phone, now showing a group text from my mother. Family meeting tonight. Non-negotiable. They stopped being my family the moment they decided my car was worth less than Richard's vacation, I said, deleting the message. I'm done being their ATM. As I walked to the elevator, another notification popped up, this time from Daniel in finance. Saw your comment on your brother's post. If you need a ride home, I'm heading your way. I stared at the message for a moment, then replied, thanks, but I need to learn to stand on my own 2 feet. The elevator doors opened, and as I stepped inside, I felt lighter than I had in years. Sometimes losing everything is exactly what you need to find yourself, and I had a feeling this was just the beginning. At Eleanor's house, the confrontation, the banging on my front door began precisely at 7 a.m. The following day, I'd been expecting it. My mother always did have a flair for dramatic timing, a holdover from her teaching days when she perfected the art of catching students off guard. Eleanor, open this door right now. Her voice echoed through my foyer, probably carrying all the way to my neighbors' houses. I calmly continued pouring my coffee, adding a splash of cream. After yesterday's revelation, I'd spent the night researching condos downtown and had already scheduled 3 viewings for the weekend. For the first time in years, I felt a flutter of excitement about my future. I know you're in there. Your car isn't. Her voice faltered, probably remembering why exactly my Mercedes wasn't in its usual spot in the driveway. My phone buzzed with Maria's text. Operation Freedom going okay? Before I could reply, Richard's voice joined Mother's. Stop being childish and open the door. We need to talk. I typed back to Maria. The dynamic duo arrived. Doing great. Moving forward with condo plans. Walking to the door but not opening it, I called out. I'm not interested in talking. Please leave before I call the police. You can't just cut us off. Mother's voice cracked. We're family. I thought about my father then, gone 10 years now. How he'd worked himself to death at 63, supporting not just me but Richard's constant failures. How Mother had raided his life insurance money to bail Richard out of his first divorce, leaving barely enough for his funeral expenses. How I'd sworn I wouldn't follow Dad's path of endless sacrifice, yet had fallen into exactly the same pattern. Family doesn't steal from each other, I replied, my voice icy calm. Family doesn't lie about medical emergencies. It wasn't stealing. Richard shouted. Mom said you offered to help. Help with your supposed appendicitis, not your luxury vacation. I needed that break. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. Something inside me snapped. The pressure of what? His non-existent job? His self-created disasters? I yanked the door open, making them both step back. The pressure, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. Try working 60-hour weeks to make partner. Try taking the bus at 5 a.m. because you sold your car to help your lying family. Try watching your retirement account dwindle because your brother needed to be bailed out of another failed marriage. Try that kind of pressure, Richard. My mother reached for my arm. Sweetie, please. I stepped back. Don't touch me. I've already closed our joint accounts and removed myself from your credit cards. I'm looking at condos this weekend. This is goodbye. You can't do this to us. Richard's face reddened. Mom needs your help with the bills. Maybe you should have thought about that before spending my car money on cocktails. It wasn't your money once you gave it to us. His words hung in the air. The naked truth of their perspective finally laid bare. You're right, I said quietly. It wasn't. Just like I'm not your A-team anymore. My phone buzzed. Daniel again. Need help with anything this weekend? Got a truck and free time. Mother noticed my small smile at the message. Who's that? Is someone putting these ideas in your head? I almost laughed at the irony. For 42 years, she'd been putting ideas in my head that I was responsible for everyone else's happiness, that my needs came last, that family meant endless sacrifice. The only person putting ideas in my head is me, I replied. For the first time in my life, actually. But what about Thanksgiving? Christmas? Your brother's birthday? Mother's voice wavered. Family dinners? I'm sure you'll manage to guilt someone else into funding those. Richard stepped forward, his finger pointing at my face. You ungrateful little. Everything okay here? A deep voice interrupted. We all turned to see Walter, my elderly neighbor and family friend, standing on my lawn with his morning newspaper tucked under his arm. Just fine, I said. Mother and Richard were just leaving. Walter nodded slowly. Vivian, Richard, I think Eleanor's made herself clear. Best give her some space. But she's abandoning us. Mother wailed, always quick to play the victim when confronted. Like you abandoned my trust? I shot back. Or my car. Or the truth. Walter stepped between us. Vivian, take Richard and go home. Eleanor's an adult, making adult decisions. Respect that. Mother's face crumpled, but Richard grabbed her arm. Have fun playing martyr, Eleanor. Don't come crying to us when you need something. That's rich coming from you, I said, but they were already walking away. Walter waited until they disappeared down the street. You okay, kiddo? Getting there. I showed him my phone with the condo listings. Viewing places this weekend. He nodded approvingly. Good for you. Sometimes the hardest part of growing up is growing away. Thanks for the backup. Anytime. He turned to leave, then paused. You know, I've watched you take care of them for years, just like I watched your father do before you. Maybe it's time someone took care of you. I glanced at Daniel's message, still waiting for a reply. Maybe you're right. After Walter left, I texted Daniel back. Actually, could use some help this weekend. Pizza and gratitude in exchange for truck services. His response was immediate. Deal, but I'm picking the toppings. No olives. Non-negotiable. Looking around my house, the house I'd bought partly to be close to Mother after Dad died, I felt something unfamiliar. Hope, maybe, or freedom. For the first time in my life, the weight of family obligation wasn't pressing down on my shoulders. I sent one final text to Maria. Operation Freedom Phase 1 complete. Phase 2. Actually living my life. Her response made me laugh out loud. About damn time. She was right. It was about damn time. Flashback 15 years earlier. Are you sure about this, Eleanor? It's a lot of money. Dad looked worried as I signed the loan paperwork for Richard's first business venture, a sports bar he was convinced would make him wealthy. I was 27 then, just starting to build my career at the accounting firm, still believing in my brother's potential. He just needs a chance, Dad. This time he's really committed. Dad sighed, the wrinkles around his eyes deepening. I've heard that before. Your brother has patterns. It'll be different this time, I insisted. He's matured. 6 months later, the bar failed. Richard had spent more time drinking with customers than managing the books. I was left with loan payments that took 5 years to clear. Dad never said, I told you so. He just helped me figure out a payment plan, squeezing it into my already tight budget. A month before he died, he took my hand during Sunday dinner. Promise me something, Ellie, he said, using my childhood nickname. Don't sacrifice your whole life for people who won't do the same for you. I nodded, not really understanding what he meant. It would take me 15 more years to truly hear his words. At the new condo, new beginnings. So what made you finally snap? Daniel asked, setting down the last box in my new downtown condo. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the hardwood floors I'd fallen in love with at first sight. You mean besides the luxury resort photos? I wiped sweat from my forehead. 42 years of being the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who always said yes. And now you're the one who says no. He grinned, collapsing onto my new sofa, the first piece of furniture I'd ever bought without considering whether it would accommodate family gatherings. It suits you. I tossed him a water bottle. Thanks again for helping. I know moving isn't exactly a fun weekend activity. Are you kidding? This is better than watching Netflix. He took a swig of water. Besides, I've wanted to talk to you properly since that day you publicly called out your brother. That took guts. Something warm unfurled in my chest at his words. Daniel and I had worked in the same firm for years, exchanging pleasantries in the break room but never really connecting. Now, seeing him relaxed in my new space, I realized how much I'd been missing by limiting my life to work and family obligations. A knock at the door interrupted whatever I was about to say. Maria burst in carrying Chinese takeout. Food's here. Oh, hey Daniel. Didn't know you'd still be here. I can go. He started to stand. Don't you dare, I said firmly. You earned that food. Besides, I need witnesses in case my family shows up. Maria set out containers on my kitchen counter. Speaking of which, have you checked your messages? Your mother's been sending emails to everyone at the office. Yeah, I saw them. Haven't opened them. Smart, Daniel said, joining us at the counter. My sister went through something similar with our dad after our mom died. He became dependent on her for everything, emotionally, financially. Sometimes distance is the only answer. I handed out chopsticks from a box labeled Kitchen Miscellaneous and passed them around. How did that work out for her? She's happier now. Dad eventually realized he couldn't manipulate her anymore and actually started taking care of himself. They have a better relationship now, but with boundaries. Here's hoping, I muttered, then jumped as my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Eleanor, it's Mother. Please call. It's about my health. I showed the screen to Maria, who rolled her eyes. New phone number, same old guilt trip. Delete it, Daniel advised. If it's really about her health, she has Richard. I blocked the number, but my hands were shaking slightly. Daniel noticed and touched my arm gently. Hey, you're doing the right thing. Am I? I looked between him and Maria, voicing the doubt that had plagued me for weeks. Because sometimes it feels like I'm being horrible. You want horrible? Maria pulled out her phone. Look what your brother posted yesterday. She showed me Richard's Facebook story. A photo of Mother looking sad at a restaurant, caption, missing my sister who abandoned us. Family should come first. That's rich, Daniel scoffed. Coming from the guy who used your car money for a vacation. They're trying to paint me as the villain, I said, stabbing at my low mean. And the worst part is, it's working. Half my relatives have already unfriended me. Good riddance, Maria declared. Less people to explain yourself to at Thanksgiving. About that, I took a deep breath. I got invited to spend Thanksgiving with my college roommate in Colorado. I think I'm going to go. That's perfect. Maria clapped. A drama-free holiday, plus skiing. Much better than watching Richard open expensive gifts bought with other people's money, Daniel added. I laughed, then sobered. I just hope Mother's okay health-wise. I mean, she's fine, Maria assured me. I saw her at the mall yesterday, shopping up a storm. Of course you did. I shook my head. Let me guess Richard was with her? Yep. Both looked pretty healthy to me. My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. Eleanor, Mom's really sick. Don't be selfish. Call us. That's it. Daniel grabbed my phone and started typing. What are you doing? He showed me the message he drafted. If Mother is truly ill, take her to a doctor. I'm not a medical professional or an ATM. Please stop contacting me. Send it. Maria urged. Then block this number too. I hit send, then immediately blocked the number. You know what's weird? For the first time since selling my car, I actually feel like I can breathe. That's because you're finally living for yourself, Daniel said. It looks good on you. Our eyes met over the takeout containers, and something warm flickered in my chest. Maria cleared her throat dramatically. Well, I should head out. Early meeting tomorrow. She winked at me, not so subtly. Daniel, take care of our girl, okay? After she left, Daniel helped me break down empty boxes. You know, he said casually, there's this great little jazz club around the corner. Maybe we could check it out sometime when you're settled in. I smiled, thinking how different this felt from the constant drain of family obligations. I'd like that. As if on cue, another unknown number popped up on my phone. Without even reading the message, I blocked it. Look at you, Daniel grinned, getting better at saying no already. And yes, I added, meeting his eyes, when it matters. At the office, the breaking point. I was in the middle of presenting quarterly projections to our biggest client when Mother burst into the conference room, mascara streaking down her face. My colleagues froze, all eyes darting between us as I gripped my laser pointer so tight my knuckles went white. Eleanor, please. She sobbed. You have to help us. Mr. Henderson, our client, looked mortified. My manager started to rise. Mrs. Bennett, this is a private meeting. It's okay, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Give me 5 minutes. I led Mother to the break room, aware of curious eyes following us through the glass walls. I saw Daniel stand up from his desk, concern etched on his face. I gave him a small wave to indicate I could handle this. You can't ignore us forever, Mother said as soon as we were alone. We're drowning without you. Funny how you managed just fine before I started working, before I became your personal bank. That's not fair. We're family. I thought about all the birthdays, all the holidays when I'd been the one cooking, cleaning, organizing, paying, while Richard showed up late with expensive gifts he'd charged to my credit card. Stop. I held up my hand. Just tell me why you're here, making a scene at my workplace. She pulled out a stack of papers from her purse. Bills, notices, collection letters. Richard lost his job. The credit cards are maxed out. The bank is threatening foreclosure, and this is my problem because we need you. Her voice dropped to that manipulative whisper I knew so well. Just a small loan, maybe $10,000. I actually laughed. $10,000, Mother? I don't even have a car anymore, remember? But your savings are for my future, not Richard's mistakes. I glanced at the bills, noticing the dates. Why did he lose his job? She shifted uncomfortably. He had a disagreement with his boss about vacation time. Let me guess, he took unauthorized time off for his Maldives trip. He was stressed. He needed to be an adult and face consequences for once in his life. I stood up, memories of my father working himself to the bone flashing through my mind. Just like now. You're being cruel, she whispered. This isn't the daughter I raised. I thought about the daughter she had raised, the one who postponed college to help with family finances, who'd canceled vacations when Richard needed bail money, who'd put her life on hold time and again. No, I said quietly. The daughter you raised would have emptied her accounts by now, would have sacrificed everything to bail you out again. That daughter is gone. A knock on the break room door made us both turn. Daniel stood there with Maria. Everything okay? Maria asked. Mother's eyes narrowed. Are these the people who turned you against us? No, Mother, I said, moving toward the door. These are the people who help me see my own worth. I have to get back to my presentation. Eleanor, please, just listen. I think you should leave, Daniel said firmly, before security gets involved. Mother gathered her papers, tears starting again. When did you become so heartless? I met her gaze directly. When I realized my heart was the only thing I had left after you and Richard took everything else. After she left, Maria hugged me tight. You okay? No, I admitted, but I will be. Want me to finish your presentation? She offered. I shook my head. I need to do this. Show everyone I'm professional, despite everything. I'll get you coffee after, Daniel said. You look like you could use it. Back in the conference room, I apologized for the interruption and continued as if nothing had happened. But as I wrapped up, I overheard two colleagues whispering, Did you hear her brother lost everything after that luxury vacation he took with her money? Serves him right. My cousin saw him at the mall yesterday trying to return thousands in designer clothes. I packed up my laptop, pretending not to hear, but a small part of me felt vindicated. Karma was finally catching up. Daniel was waiting by my desk, ready with that promised coffee. Actually, I hesitated. Can we get something stronger? I think I need a drink. I know just the place. At the bar, after my first glass of wine, I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Richard, 1 voicemail. You think you're so much better than us now. Mom's a mess because of you. I had to move back home because of you. I hope you're happy with yourself. You selfish. I deleted it before it finished. You know what's ironic? I told Daniel. They keep saying I abandoned them, but they're the ones who never showed up for me. Not once. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Their loss. Yeah, I said, squeezing back. Their loss. My phone buzzed again. A text from Walter. Saw your mother today. Don't worry about her dramatics. You're doing the right thing. I showed Daniel the message, and he smiled. Smart man, that Walter. Smart enough to see what took me 42 years to figure out. Better late than never, he said, raising his glass. To boundaries. I clinked my glass against his. To boundaries, and to finally enforcing them. At the hospital confronting truth, Walter showed up at my door on a rainy Sunday morning, holding 2 cups of coffee and wearing a grim expression. Got a minute, kiddo? For coffee? Always. I let him in, noting how he seemed to be choosing his words carefully. What's wrong? Saw your mother yesterday, he said, settling onto my couch. At the hospital. My stomach dropped. Despite everything, the thought of her truly ill sent a wave of panic through me. Is she okay? Panic attack. They kept her overnight for observation. He handed me a coffee. Richard wasn't there. Apparently, he was too busy trying to pawn his designer watches. I sipped my coffee to hide my trembling hands. Why are you telling me this? Walter had been our neighbor for 30 years. He'd known my father well, they'd been fishing buddies, and he'd watched our family dynamics play out over decades. Because you deserve to know the truth, not the manipulated version they're spreading around. He leaned forward. Your mother's panic attack happened right after the bank officially started foreclosure proceedings. Let me guess, because of Richard's spending? Partially, but mainly because she's been paying his rent, car payments, and credit card bills for months, even before your car money went to his vacation. My phone buzzed. Daniel checking in. Still on for lunch? I typed back quickly. Rain check. Something came up. Eleanor, Walter said gently, using my full name to emphasize his seriousness. I'm not telling you this to make you feel guilty. I'm telling you because you need to understand this isn't your fault. They were drowning long before you stepped away. But if I hadn't cut them off, they would have dragged you down with them. He pulled out his phone, showing me a social media post from Richard from just last night. Him at an expensive club, bottles on the table. He posted this while your mother was in the hospital. Of course he did. I set my coffee down hard enough to slosh it. Why am I not surprised? Because you finally see them clearly. Walter stood up, walking to my window. I've known your family for 30 years. Watched you work 3 jobs in college while Richard dropped out of his fourth attempt at community college. Saw you skip vacations to help with bills while he bought designer clothes. Why didn't you say anything? Would you have listened? He turned to face me. Sometimes people need to realize things on their own. I thought about my father's words before he died. How I'd nodded without really hearing him. How it had taken 15 more years and a devastating betrayal to finally understand. My phone buzzed again. Maria this time. 911. Your mom's posting hospital selfies on Facebook. You okay? I should check on her, I said, half standing. Should you? Walter raised an eyebrow. Or is that your guilt talking? Before I could answer, my phone rang, an unknown number. I answered on speaker. Eleanor. Richard's voice filled the room. Mom's in the hospital, and you don't even care. She could have died from a panic attack about money problems you caused. I felt a surge of that familiar guilt, the weight of responsibility that had been placed on my shoulders since childhood. Then I remembered the Maldives photos. The lies. The decades of manipulation. Oh, so this is my fault now? The foreclosure? The maxed out credit cards? The vacation you took with my car money? Yeah, Eleanor, it kind of is. You're unbelievable. I shot back. Mother needs help with the hospital bills now. The least you could do. The least I could do is nothing, I cut in. Which is exactly what I'm going to do. Fine. I hope you can live with yourself when Walter took the phone. Richard, it's Walter. Instead of guilt-tripping your sister, maybe try selling those watches you were bragging about last week or the designer suits. Or maybe just grow up. He hung up and blocked the number before Richard could respond. Thank you, I whispered. Don't thank me yet. He handed me back my phone. The hard part's coming. They're going to escalate, make you look like the villain, try to turn everyone against you. They already are. I showed him my mother's latest Facebook post, a hospital selfie with the caption, "Missing my daughter during this difficult time. Prayer warriors needed." Ah yes, the social media guilt trip, he chuckled. Your mother's specialty. My phone lit up with messages from relatives I hadn't heard from in years, all suddenly concerned about my absence. You know what's funny? I said, blocking numbers one by one. A month ago, this would have broken me. Now it just makes me angry. Good. Walter headed for the door. Anger's better than guilt. Anger means you're healing. Walter, I called as he opened the door. Why are you really here? He paused, his weathered face solemn. Because 15 years ago, I watched a young woman give up her dream job in New York to stay close to home when her father died. I watched her give up her college fund before that to pay for her brother's third car. Someone should have stepped in then. I'm stepping in now. After he left, I called Daniel. Rain check canceled. I could really use that lunch. Everything okay? No, I said honestly. But I'm done feeling guilty about that. I'll pick you up in 20, he said. And Eleanor, I'm proud of you. 3 simple words, but they meant more than all my family's manipulative messages combined. Sometimes the family you choose is better than the family you're born into. At the auction, return to opening enter, my mother's voice pulled me back to the present. She stood beside Daniel's truck, eyes red but clear. I didn't expect to see you here. Neither did I admitted, rolling down the window. The scent of autumn leaves filled the air, a reminder that seasons change, that nothing lasts forever, not even decades-old family patterns. I understand now, she said quietly. Why you walked away. I should have done the same with Richard years ago. At the auction, return to opening, continued, Mom. No, let me finish. She straightened her shoulders, and for a moment I glimpsed the formidable teacher she'd once been. I got the final credit card statement yesterday. Do you know what Richard's last purchase was? A first-class ticket to Dubai while I was sleeping on Walter's couch. Classic Richard, I muttered, the old bitterness rising before I could stop it. I'm sorry, she whispered. About your car, about everything. I know I can't make it right, but I'm not asking for money, she added quickly, seeming to read my thoughts. Or forgiveness. I just, I needed you to know that you were right, and I was wrong about so many things. Walter appeared behind her. Vivian, the realtor needs you to sign some papers. She nodded, then turned back to me. I found a small apartment. Walter helped with the deposit. I'm going to get a job, pay my own way, like you've been doing all along. As she walked away, Maria approached the truck, having arrived moments earlier. You okay? Getting there. I watched Mother sign papers with shaking hands. Where's Richard now? According to his latest social media, trying to start a luxury lifestyle consulting business in Dubai. Maria rolled her eyes. With what credentials? Who knows? Daniel said. He'll find new people to scam, but they won't be you. My phone buzzed, a notification that Mother had posted on Facebook for the first time in weeks. Today, I say goodbye to my home of 30 years. I've lost a lot recently. My house, my savings, and my son's respect. But maybe I'm also gaining something. Clarity. To my daughter Eleanor, you saw the truth long before I did. I'm sorry it took losing everything to understand what you've been trying to tell me. I hope someday I can earn back your trust. For now, I'm learning to stand on my own 2 feet. Better late than never. Wow, Maria breathed, reading over my shoulder. That's actually genuine. Yeah, I said, watching Mother hand over the keys to the realtor. It is. Flashback 20 years earlier, Mom, I got the job. I burst through the front door, waving the offer letter from the prestigious New York accounting firm. They want me to start next month. My mother barely looked up from the bills spread across the kitchen table. That's nice, dear. Richard's car broke down again. He needs a new transmission. But this is my dream job. Family comes first, Eleanor. Your brother needs reliable transportation for his job interviews. I looked at the offer letter, at the salary that would have allowed me to live in Manhattan, to build the life I'd always imagined. I'm sure New York will still be there after we get Richard back on his feet, she said, already calculating how much of my savings would be needed. That night, I called the firm and declined the offer. New York was still there, but I never was. At the new beginning present day, what now? Daniel asked as we watched the new owners already measuring for curtains in my childhood home. I thought about my new condo, my growing savings account, the partnership track I was finally pursuing at the firm, about Daniel's steady presence and Maria's unwavering support, about Walter's wisdom and Mother's belated but sincere awakening. Now we go home, I said. All of us. Even your mom? Maria raised an eyebrow. I'm not ready to let her back in completely, I admitted. But maybe we can get coffee sometimes. Talk about things besides money and Richard. Speaking of Richard, Daniel pointed to his latest Instagram post, a desperate plea for investors in his new venture, complete with obvious stock photos and empty promises. His karma is still playing out. Maria grinned. Some people never learn. Mother walked over one last time, clutching a small box. I found these while packing, she said, handing it to me through the window. Inside were photos of me as a kid, winning science fairs, graduating high school, buying my first car. No Richard in sight. You were always the strong one, she said, her voice thick with emotion. I just never appreciated it until now. Keep them, I said, passing the box back. For your new place. She hugged the box to her chest, tears spilling over. Thank you. I was struck by how different she looked. Smaller, yes, but somehow more real without the manipulative tactics she'd wielded like weapons for decades. As she walked to Walter's car, Daniel started the truck. Ready? I looked at my old house one last time. The auction sign swayed in the breeze, its sold sticker catching the last rays of sunlight. Yeah, I said. I'm ready. My phone buzzed with a final message from Walter. Proud of you, kiddo. Both of you. And he was right. Mother was finally standing on her own feet. Richard was facing his consequences half a world away, and I was exactly where I needed to be. Hey, Daniel said as we pulled away. Want to go car shopping this weekend? I know a guy who can get you a great deal on a Mercedes. I smiled, watching my old house disappear in the rearview mirror. Actually, yeah. I think it's time. Sometimes the happy ending isn't about fixing everything. It's about finding peace with what can't be fixed and building something new from what remains. At 42, I was finally learning that the most important relationship in my life was the one I had with myself. And that relationship was just beginning to flourish. Epilogue is 6 months later. The keys to my new Mercedes felt right in my hand, heavy with significance but lighter than the burden I'd carry for decades. I pulled into the parking lot of the small cafe where Mother and I had begun our tentative reconnection, meeting once a month for coffee and conversation that, remarkably, never centered on Richard. She was already there, looking more vibrant than I'd seen her in years. The part-time job at the local library suited her, as did the small apartment she'd made her own. "The car looks beautiful," she said as I joined her. "It suits you." "Thanks." "How's the creative writing class going?" Her eyes lit up. "Wonderful. The instructor says I have a knack for memoir writing." We chatted easily about her class, my recent promotion, the jazz club Daniel and I had started frequenting. Richard's name never came up, though we both knew from his increasingly desperate social media posts that Dubai had not delivered the riches he'd expected. As I drove home afterward, I realized something had shifted. The guilt that had once defined our relationship had been replaced by something healthier, mutual respect with clear boundaries. My phone rang through the car speaker system. "Daniel, how was coffee with your mom?" "Good, actually. Really good. Want to celebrate?" "I'm thinking dinner at that new place on Riverside." "Perfect. I'll be ready at 7. As I pulled into my condo's parking garage, I caught my reflection in the rearview mirror. There were a few more lines around my eyes than there had been 6 months ago, but they were the right kind, evidence of smiles rather than stress. I thought about Walter's words from all those months ago. Sometimes the hardest part of growing up is growing away. He'd been right, but there was more to it. Sometimes growing away was just the beginning. The real journey was growing into yourself, rediscovering the person you were meant to be before others' expectations clouded your vision. At 42, I was finally living my own life, and it was more beautiful than I ever could have imagined.